Wagwan, everyone, and welcome to Film Shrapnel, your number one spot for everything movies, and Happy New Year! My name's Tobias, and this is my co-anchor and partner in crime, Craig Britton. Hello, Craig.
How's it going, Tobias? First pod of the new year.
First pod of 2024. It's officially our birthday. We're a year old.
Yeah. Well, actually, we started recording a while before we released our first one, like a few months. But yeah, technically speaking, we've been out for about a year now.
Yes.
I think.
But we've been on hiatuses, so now we're basically recording as they need uploading.
Yeah, time caught up with us eventually.
Eventually, yeah. So happy 2024, and I hope you all had a lovely Christmas. And today, me and Craig, it's the beginning of our Janime month. So, see what I did there, Craig?
Yeah, you always come up with these clever titles, don't you?
I'm clever in inverted commas, though. You see what
you
I
must
did?
have been
You
like
see?
patting your back, like,
Exactly.
oh man, that's so good.
Don't you see how clever I'm being? I've taken January and anime and put them together. How fucking genius is that?
It's really original.
I know.
Completely original.
So original. I'm really, really proud of myself. All right. Well, it is the first episode of Janime, and we are going to do Ghost in the Shell, a movie that neither of us have watched.
I thought you'd seen it before.
No. This is the thing. You might be surprised by this, Craig, because I'm the one that pushed Anime Month, but I'm not a huge fan of anime. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not big on anime at all. I've watched a little bit, like a bit context then. The only anime I watched as a kid, like growing up, because I know you like Dragon Ball Z and stuff.
I loved it when I was a kid.
But for me, the only exposure to anime I had was things like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was like 5 or 6. And then I seem to recall like Sailor Moon, but I have absolutely no idea anything about it. I think I've seen a couple of episodes, but I would have been a kid. I really don't recall. And of course, they're dubbed really bad, really terribly. I have seen Spirited Away, the Studio Ghibli film. That's brilliant. Really, really good. There's a plethora of other animes that I haven't seen.
Have you seen, by any chance, Princess Mononoke?
No, I haven't seen this one.
You should definitely watch that.
Well, I think we should do that for this month.
Maybe. I haven't watched that for years.
There's a few I'd like to do this month. I'd love to do some Studio Ghibli stuff. I'd love to do some obscure anime. I'd say like Ghost in the Shell, it's pretty mainstream. I was aware of Ghost in the Shell, but I'd never watched it.
Yeah, I've also been aware of it for a long time. And like you, I hadn't really watched too much anime. It's not that I have disliked it or anything. It's just I just never had the drive really to watch it. But Ghost in the Shell has been on my list for a long time, as has Akira as well.
Well, the thing is, again, I haven't seen Akira. And like, I think these are all these films I've been really quite keen to get round to watching, but anime I've never really connected to it like the general public really has. Like, loads of people love anime. It's a very legitimate cornerstone of like pop culture, and yet it's a whole side to cinema that I just haven't bothered with. It's just not really my cup of tea. Although I did watch Death Note on the recommendation of a friend years and years ago, and I think it's a work of art. I love Death Note, the anime. Really, really good.
I should also check that one too. So Ghost in the Shell, 1995 or 1996, depending on the dub or whatever. What did you think? Now you've watched it.
So I think it's important to point out I don't like anime.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I, I don't mind it. Like I'm totally up for watching more. I mean, if it's good, it's good. I don't care what genre it is. You could even throw me a romantic comedy. If it's good, it's good. You know.
Okay,
So I'm open-minded to all kinds of cinemas,
I'll tell
really.
you. I'll tell you the process I went on with this film because I've actually purposely not told you this yet, Craig, before getting on the podcast. Um, I've actually watched this movie twice now,
Mm.
and in between watching it twice, I watched the live action Scarlett Johansson one as well. And when I watched the original anime the first time, I have to be honest, I wasn't huge on it at all. I didn't really like it. Um, a lot of the stuff, I think what it was is I was expecting a high octane anime thing, like every other example of anime I've seen. I'm a big fan of One Punch Man, and that's like very high octane, crazy, colorful, lots of stuff's going on. But this movie, there's so many scenes where it's just one cell, one animation cell, and all they do is animate the mouth for like
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2 minutes for an entire scene or something. Like it, I found it quite dull and monotonous. And so I was going into it expecting this big, flashy anime style, and I didn't get that. So I wasn't huge on it the first time round, right?
Yeah. And
But
then what
then
happened?
because listen, I think I watched it wrong, and then I watched the Scarlett Johansson one, and that is very vibrant. It is very anime style. There is a lot going on. The action is far more spectacular in the live action one. I would say the action set pieces have been surpassed by the live action for sure. And Takeshi Kitano's in it, who I really like. Um,
And then, so then after that, you watched the anime again, and what was your opinion on the
well, this is it.
third
I liked
watch?
I liked the Scarlett Johansson one a little bit. It was easier to understand. The story was far less complicated. It was way more like you didn't. It didn't rely on as much expository dialogue as the anime does, which I
Or I have to
really
take note on
found.
that.
I found that really difficult to get through sometimes. Um, so it doesn't do that. It's easier to follow, easier to understand, but the story has been massively simplified. And after watching it, I was like, that was more satisfying as a cinematic experience. But it lost so much context. It lost so much, um, like, the stuff I really enjoyed in the anime was absent from the live action. So after
Mm.
watching the live action, I still felt unsatisfied. So then I went back to the anime, watched it again, and I was definitely more appreciative of the anime the second time round. Um, the storyline is actually really, really slick, really, really nice storytelling. It's just all the exploratory dialogue. It's really fucking annoying.
It's yeah, that for me that was a big thing. Like I wasn't too I didn't yeah, I wasn't too surprised at the beginning when they were doing a little bit of exploratory dialogue because sometimes you need to do that like at the beginning of a film just to set where you
Yeah.
are.
Star Wars title
But
crawl.
yeah, but then when you do it throughout the film, like I remember watching, it's like 40 minutes in and we're still setting things up. It felt like
Mm-hmm.
it's just characters spilling out stuff to other characters. And like sometimes it even felt like they're just trying to find an excuse because I think they even knew sometimes it was a bit too much. Like I think there was one point where our main character, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. She enters, and the other guy with the strange eyes starts explaining. I think his name was Batu. Starts
Yeah.
explaining something. He's like, just in case you missed it or something because you were late or whatever. And it's like they just made her late on purpose just so they could like spill more exposition at you. And it felt a bit too much. And like I felt like I had to either stop watching and go back, or I'm going to have to watch this film all over again to understand everything.
Yeah.
Because there were several moments where, like, okay, I didn't get that, and now because I didn't get that, I'm going to not understand several other things that happen later. Like, for
Hmm.
example, the big thing that I lost that I didn't get was this whole thing between District 6 and District 9. I'm like, are they places? Is this something
No,
like a
no.
governmental thing,
Yeah,
or?
yeah. It's a government thing. So Section 6 and Section 9 are like separate government bodies that are like the CIA. However, they're all responsible for different things. But I never, in all three watchings, I never picked up what the division was responsible for. I think
Yeah.
so. I know Section 6 is the team that she's on, and they are all like cyber enhanced. They're a cyber enhanced anti-terrorist team. I know that. Section 6,
Hmm.
Section 9, I don't know what their deal was.
Can I say something as well about
Hmm.
because the exposition, we need to really talk about this. Do you think that the film should have been longer and that they could have told the story a bit more
If they
easily with more of a runtime to tell this exposition without it coming from characters and more from stuff that happened?
Instead of telling me what happens, show me what happens. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I totally agree. Like this is the problem, to show everything would take up a large chunk of film. And let's not forget that this is based on a manga series, and they've probably, I don't know for sure, but they've probably condensed like the better part of like 10 to 15 stories into one movie. I think it's probably a product of trying to cram an entire sort of chapter of a story that was told over the course of I don't know how many years Ghost in the Shell ran in the manga. But they're condensing a big story into an hour and a half. So yeah, I think it's just a product of that.
Mm.
But it's not an excuse. It's still really bad, and I still think there are things that you could have made clearer. Because on my second watch, I realised that the lie didn't they put lies in her head. They put lies in her head that her family was killed by terrorists or something. Correct?
Which character?
Mukayoko or whatever her name was, the main girl.
That did they? I don't remember that.
Or maybe that's just the live action one. Maybe maybe I'm bleeding them together. That's definitely in the live action one. That
But
they
they do talk about false memories though in the
Yeah.
anime with the guys
Well,
working with the trash pickup.
this is it. We do know that. Okay, so did you understand the whole ghost thing?
So the ghost is what controls the body or the brain,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I got. And the shell, I guess, is the body.
Yes. But were you aware that the ghosts are human?
Yeah, but to a degree, right? Not all of
No.
them have the same amount of human.
So the main character, her ghost, is actually a human ghost, but her body is entirely synthetic. I think she might be the very first entirely synthetic organism, but it has a human ghost. So she is considered human, even though her entire body is synthetic,
But
right?
she said, I think she said she only had not like the whole of her brain, but like part of her brain or
No, no,
something, right?
I don't. I don't think she has any of her brain. So in the new Scarlett Johansson movie, they literally put her brain in a robot. But in the anime, I'm sure wasn't it just you can upload your ghost to something, and so her body died while her ghost was in like a data stream or something, and then they could download her into a body.
Mm,
So her human consciousness. So this is the thing: consciousness is the ghost. Those human characters that had their ghost hacked, that their ghost was their human consciousness that's being sort of turned into data and being able to access all this stuff, right? So there is this argument of what does it mean to be? I really like that. So I got all this
Yeah.
on the second watch, which is really cool. Like, so what this argument of what does it mean to be human? Because the bad guy, what is he called? Puppet Master. He
Hmm.
he's an artificial or an actual intelligence that was born in the stream of data. So this is a AI that has been born out of essentially the internet. I don't know. So Puppet Master is entirely it's a sentient computer program essentially, and
Hmm.
he too is able to upload his ghost. He is basically a ghost that was born in the data stream. You know, is that now human? Is that less human than or more human than the main character? Like, there's this argument to be made, and obviously, spoiler alert for the ending, but he wants to transition to become this even more sort of omnipotent being, this new entity by merging with Mikoyo or whatever her name
Hmm.
was. Was it Mikoyo? I think it was, or Miyoko,
Let
something
me
like
find it.
that. I think it's Miyoko.
Motoko,
Motoko.
or just Major, because sometimes they refer to
Yeah.
her as Major, don't they?
You know, I will say though, Scarlett Johansson. Obviously, there was problems about her like whitewashing the character. Like, people were complaining that she was whitewashing the character. She is Motoko.
Yeah, I could
Like,
guess that.
no, but she's Motoko. They didn't rename her to make her Western. They've literally went, your ghost, your brain was from this Japanese girl. So she literally was whitewashed in the
Ah.
movie. Like, they justify the whitewashing in the movie. And it just made me laugh. It's interesting because it just made
Mm.
me think of the controversy that it caused. Like, that this scene does not age well.
Yeah, that
And,
definitely will not.
it's only a 6 year old movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Oof.
Pete, what did you have to say? Because I sort of went on a bit of a rant there. You had something you
Well,
wanted to bring up.
so I was thinking also because so you mentioned you were expecting it to be more high octane action, and
Hmm.
I guess yeah, I was feeling the same. Like I remember very early on in the film, there is this bit where some shady dealings are happening inside some building, and the police are going to break in. And the guy is like talking about how he has diplomatic immunity and all this kind of stuff, and you felt like they'll you see Major Motoko come like through a window, and she's like naked, sorry, not naked, but like she's invisible, and she's attacked, like she shoots and shit. And I was thinking, I was actually surprised because I was expecting more action around there, and then pretty much the film does follows that kind of like it feels like there's just about to be a lot of action,
Hmm.
and it like dies down very quickly.
Yeah.
um and I'm wondering if that's because it would have been really expensive. Because also, I think this film is also, I think, like 1 hour and 20 something, which is quite short.
Yeah.
And like maybe that's the reason why some things are the way that they are. Like it's shorter. There's not too much crazy action. There's a lot of dialogue being spilt instead of shown. And I think it's because it would be so much more expensive um, to do more really. And
I
especially I
suppose
have to
so.
remember in the mid '90s, probably would have been way more harder than it is now to make something really actiony.
Well, I mean, you say that, but like, wasn't Akira from the 80s, and that's really high octane, I believe. I'm not
Yeah,
entirely sure. I haven't seen it.
I think it's from '88 or something like that. Yeah, I can't say, I haven't seen it yet, but maybe we might see a similar thing when we watch it.
Yeah, I think we should definitely do Akira this month. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting comparison because maybe after we watch Akira, we might have more thoughts on Ghost in the Show. Actually,
That's true. That's true. I will say,
yeah,
I think the plot of Ghost in the Shell is really hard to follow.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this film you definitely need to watch more than once.
Mm.
I
Or at
I
least you're
I
gonna have to
spent
flick back and through it all the time.
yeah,
Like,
and I still felt that it was hard to follow even on my third watch.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's also again, imagine if it was a manga. Well, it was a manga first. So if you didn't understand what you read, you just reread it.
yeah.
But when it's a film, it doesn't stop for you, you know?
Well, I'll say the first time I watched it, there were maybe 3 or 4 occasions I rewound it about 5 minutes and
Mm,
watched that 5 minutes again, just to try and, because I'm just like, wait, what? And my brain just wasn't going fast enough for it. And again, it got me
yeah,
thinking maybe you needed to be a fan of the manga series to appreciate the movie. But I did some
maybe.
digging. I did some digging, and apparently the writer of the manga has said every version of Ghost in the Shell is its own thing. So,
Hmm.
and there's no definitive version. You can read the manga series and love that, and it's fine. You can watch the movie, the anime, and you can love that, and it's fine. But they're all basically the same with some differences. But generally speaking, it's the same story done over and over again.
Yeah, I did read that Ghost in the Shell 2 is a sequel, but it's non-canon or something like that. Like it's not really related to the same story. It's just kind of like the same world. Which is, by the way, something else I wanted to add earlier.
Hmm.
All the like again talking about the info dumping because for me this is a big thing because like I really like stories to be very I don't know I don't like info being dumped on me like that usually.
If you do it once, I can get past it. But yeah, I think this movie does it way too much.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's why for me it felt like they were setting up a universe and maybe several other more movies. Like it
Mm.
get all the info dumping done now, and then you got it ready for several more movies. Like I feel quite off topic. Did you watch Dune?
Yeah,
I felt a bit like that was happening in Dune as
yeah.
well, like the recent one, not the one from before. And I feel like they were just trying to get a lot of stuff set up just in this first film so they can leap from it in the sequels, which I kind of didn't like actually.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I like a story to be, self-contained also as well. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Just my
I think this one feels very self-contained.
this is self-contained. Yeah, I'll give you that because like now I feel like that every film that's made that's going to be a franchise, it's not. It's like I feel like back in the '90s and stuff, they just made one film, and if
Mm.
it was great, okay, maybe we'll make more.
Yeah.
But now it feels like we're making a film to be a franchise. So I
Yes.
think they do that a bit more.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to really talk about this film because you can see why it's good, right?
Mm.
I can see it. It didn't resonate. I liked a lot of the things they did. What did you think of the nudity?
It wasn't as crazy as I thought. I mean, it's kind of like
Pretty there
whenever I
though.
see a poster or something, you always think about the nudity, don't you? But it wasn't really that much in there.
There's a lot of nipples in it.
Well, yeah, I guess. But
There's a
like,
lot of
it's not.
nipples.
I've seen nipples before.
They get rid of the nipples in the Scarlett Johansson one. Massive missed
Well,
opportunity.
I was wondering what she would have thought about it when she was first approached about the project.
Well,
Probably when she saw that.
the thing is, what I liked about the nudity in the anime is no. I've got a legitimate thing because I actually think it's important. Like, because initially I'm watching it and I'm like, there's a lot of nipple. Like, I thought it was just the opening credits. By the way, we should talk about the opening credits, but give me a minute. Uh,
Hmm.
so, like, from get go, you're seeing nipple and you're getting pretty close to nether regions. And I kept thinking, like, God, this is like really, it's almost gratuitous. Like, it's almost, this is too much. Like, uh, I've had enough of looking at these cartoon boobs. And it's always, it's throughout the film that she gets her jugs out, and but then I started questioning it, and I thought, actually, there is an element of it shows her lack of humanity. She's not modest about it. She's not. she has no feelings about being naked in public because because she doesn't see herself as a sexual entity. Maybe I mean that's maybe reading into it too much, but I would say it adds to her lack of humanity, or it demonstrates that she's lost some of her humanity
Mm.
because obviously she has a lot of questions about her own existence throughout the film. And what's the guy's name again with the weird eyes?
Batu, I think.
Batu. I wrote down young Mickey Rourke. I think he looks like a young Mickey Rourke.
What is
So
up with his eyes, by the way?
they explain it in the live action movie.
Yeah,
That-
what did they
so-
say?
well, I mean, but you know from the anime that they're all augmented. Everyone in this
Yeah.
universe is augmented in some way. In the live action movie, we actually get a scene where they're on a mission. He has normal eyes. Then they blow something up in his face and they have to fix his eyes. So he chose these tactical augmentations.
They look like really slim sunglasses,
They
like
don't
just without a frame.
they don't look tactical, but apparently
No.
they are. Apparently they're very, very tactical.
But also, that's another thing about being human again. Like, it makes him look less human. He doesn't even
It
have
does,
pupils. You can't see where he's looking.
but this is it. Everyone in this universe is somewhat augmented. This is why it's such a shock to them when they find out when those two drivers going start shooting at them. When they bring them in, they find out that their ghost was hacked, and these are humans. These aren't
Hmm.
these aren't synthetic bodies. These aren't synthetic brains. These are real people that have just been augmented in some way, and their ghost they were able to be hacked. So sort of like the human soul being brought down to data, which I thought was quite interesting. Because then, if it is data, then surely an artificial intelligence that is sentient must be human because it's also data.
That makes me think a lot of Blade Runner.
So, well, this is the thing. I wrote down here. This movie really feels like it's a response to Blade Runner and a
Yeah.
prerequisite to The Matrix.
Yeah, it's right in the middle. It
It's
really
right in
is,
the.
yeah.
It really is right in the middle. And but I have to say, they talked for years about not being able to make this movie live action before doing the Scarlett Johansson one. And I have to say, after watching the original, the Wachowskis could have done this in 1999.
Yes, I believe that too.
I would have loved if, like, maybe they'd done The Matrix in 1999 and then maybe spent 2 years making their next film, Ghost in the Shell. That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. I could have been, I definitely would have been down for a Turn of the Millennium Ghost in the Shell movie by the Wachowskis. That would have been another world.
So, you know what else is worth mentioning as well?
Go on.
So I saw that this film is set in 2029, which is
Yeah, I
now
know.
only 5 years away.
5 years
And
away from this dystopian future.
yeah, and I'm thinking like probably a couple of years ago, the idea of this kind of story happening would have been so too ridiculous. The idea of artificial intelligence is way too far away. And then like recently, like about was it a bit more than a year now? I think it was November 2022. ChatGPT was like launched,
Mm.
and now we have so much AI powered tools. Like really, I've been playing around with a few recently that I found for like generating images, and I just can't believe what we can do now. Someone even showed me an AI tool where you can prompt it to write a song, so you could just
Hmm.
give it some lyrics and a theme or something like this, and it builds you a song like really quickly. I'm like, I can't believe that we live in this time. Like, and it even works in other languages as well. And like, I just keep thinking about this, and then watching Ghost in the Shell, and I'm really thinking how close we are to
Yeah.
something
Well,
sentient.
I mean, you say this, but you know, current AI is it's we're nowhere near.
Yeah, but the thing is that a lot of the time I find that people just don't prompt it properly. They need to really find the right way to give it the right instructions.
Mm.
And the better you are at doing that, the more varied the results can be.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
perhaps
It's
perhaps there's an artistry of just asking ChatGPT to do things.
yes, there is actually, there really is. Like you can
'Cause-
get really, you can get it to write like in a certain voice, like write this like Ray Romano would say it or something like that. And it really, when you use it that way, you can get some very interesting results.
Sorry, a
Hmm.
tangent there. We'll talk about Ghost in the Shell.
Yes,
Um,
if you weren't listening.
yeah,
Uh, what another thing then I was thinking about. Um, what did you think about the style and how it was made? Because I
right.
think it's stylistically beautiful. It's not as brightly colored as you mentioned earlier, but I also
Well,
think that lends to it a bit, actually.
so I would say it's artistically stunning. The artistry is magnificent. It looks beautiful. And I like the dark. This is the thing. I needed to watch it a second time. I needed to shift gears in my mindset because I was expecting like a One Punch Man style anime. Because I think the animes that do the best for me don't take itself too seriously. Like Attack on Titan, everyone has told me I will love it, but I think it takes itself too seriously. I like Death Note because even though it takes itself very seriously, every single scene has an invisible death god with a crazy face that only one person can see. So there's still this element of weirdness and madness to the series, even though it takes itself more seriously than I normally like. This
Mm.
film is just serious. There is no levity in this movie. Um, you only have like really there's two really satisfying gory moments, but one of them isn't satisfying because you barely see anything. um I'm talking about when the guy gets shot into like pieces in the car.
Yeah,
uh
you see like a bit of his rib cage, but you don't see too much really, do you?
yeah, you don't see too much. Also, by the way, if they're the good guys, why are they blowing people up? But yeah,
Well,
that's a
maybe
different point.
maybe that's also related to the idea of being human or not. Like
That's true.
if we detach ourselves, like do we give a fuck about other life?
No,
Like,
no,
does
that's
it
a
matter anymore?
fair point. Fair point. But then also, I'd say the other most like satisfying moment like that is when she like tries to pull the thing off the tank and literally her whole body like fucking implodes.
Mm. Her arms start
That's
to rip off.
it's so good. I really like that. And I have to
Yeah.
say, I also think the live action one does that scene quite well.
I was thinking there was a couple of small things that I noticed that I quite liked, apart from because you're focusing on the violence and the gore. Uh, I thought
Mhm.
like there was early on in the
And the
film.
nipples as well. Don't forget,
Don't
nipples are
forget
good.
nipples.
Hmm.
There's a bit where she wakes up in her room and she opens the blinds and you see the city in the background, and then she goes and like puts a jacket on, but you don't really see her. You just see her shadow of her arm as she puts her arm through the jacket sleeve,
Hmm.
and it just looks really nice. Like, and I was just thinking, how much effort could you imagine being an animator and trying to figure out how am I going to do that? And then like just watching people put on jackets and then trying to figure out the best way to, because it's a very small thing,
See, this
but
is the
it's
thing.
quite
Like,
precise, you know?
I feel like there is a lot of that. I think it's animated beautifully when there's animation, but I got quite annoyed when there would be scenes where it's literally just a still picture with the mouth moving for a minute long with expository dialogue. Like that sort of
Yeah.
stuff really took me out, made it hard to appreciate how good the artwork is. I mean, speaking of the artwork, let's talk about that opening scene, the credits, the opening credits, where essentially Matoko is getting born.
Motoko, I think, yeah.
When she's born and she she gets all of her skin put on her, and that sequence is stunning. It's breathtaking. I could watch that on loop. That could be, you could put the opening credits of Ghost in the Shell and project it onto like a wall in a nightclub and just have it play on loop. I would say the theme tune as well was really good. I like that sort of ethereal, because it's like almost like choir, isn't it? It's like, oh, a lot of like I liked how ethereal the music was. Although I can't remember the melody now.
I also quite like the song at the end in the credits. I googled it
Yeah.
after, and apparently it's U2 and Brian Eno. I was like, what? Okay, fair enough.
What, U2 is in Bono U2?
Yes,
What?
I know. I was really surprised. I didn't think that.
Oh, yeah, I am surprised by that. So yeah, should we talk about some other stuff that we liked? So I've
Well,
said music. You said like the style. We've meant
yeah.
Levi and the music. What else?
Well, I was just thinking, like, on a broader sense. So we talked about the style of things, and we talked about how beautiful it is and everything. But the film is kind of talking about what it means to be real.
Yes.
And this is an animation. So I'm wondering if there is some kind of message when you put it in this medium. Like, do you think there is something about that? Like, what does it mean to be real? There's one bit, I can't remember where exactly it is in the movie, maybe like 20, 30 minutes in. There's this whole uh, lot of several shots with music, and it's like I don't know what city it's supposed to be. Maybe it's supposed to be Tokyo, but I don't think they ever mention it. Just cityscapes and seeing shops and people walking around, and there's like a boat that's going down a canal. I think there's even a bit where you see Motoko uh, on the boat looking at an office, and there's someone who looks just like her is looking back at herself. I think that there is some meaning there that I
Hmm.
missed. Uh, and I don't know. Do you think that
Well,
there's anything there? Probably there
yeah.
is, but I,
So later in the movie, we get told about the puppet master a bit more. We should probably go into some more story specifics, but the puppet master talks about that this theme of the mirror image keeps getting brought up, and when the movie ends, we end on a mirror image as well. So the notion of the mirror, the theme of a mirror, is a recurring thing that is brought up numerous times throughout the film. So perhaps it's something to do with that, setting up this mirror uh, theme or continuing this mirror theme. I can't say I remember the bit that you're talking about though, where she sees herself.
she's on the boat, or maybe it's the other way around. So there is someone in an office building, like a few floors up. She's working at a desk, and she looks out the window, and she looks down, and she's there again, but she's on the boat, and the boat's going past, and they're kind of looking at each other for a second. And it was interesting. I didn't. I think that was the only moment I think in the film where something like that happens, where it's like the idea that she could be more than one. You know?
Well, it's entirely possible though, isn't it? Like she is being manufactured at the end of the day. So it's entirely
Yeah.
possible that there might be more, especially because at the end, um, when she wakes up in a different body, we'll talk about it more in detail later. But Weird Eye Man does say this was the only thing I could find on the black market at such short notice. So we know that you can buy these bodies to put your ghosts in. So maybe she is just like a model. Maybe she's just a model that is available to the masses, the public. Entirely possible.
Yeah.
I did get a lot of Blade Runner vibes off this, like with all this sort of what it means to be human, sentient, artificial intelligence.
It's
Mm.
like Blade Runner started the conversation, and then Ghost in the Shell expanded the conversation.
But then the Matrix finished the conversation.
Yeah.
So let's just story wise, about half we keep seeing this puppet master popping up, like They're dealing with this cyborg terrorist called the Puppet Master. And about halfway through the film, another incredibly beautiful naked woman shows up. And she's a robot with a male voice. And she's the Puppet Master. But it's just the current vessel that the Puppet Master's using.
They trapped her in there, didn't they? They trapped the Puppet Master inside her body.
Yes. I like how they still have a male voice doing it. We get more nipples, of course. And I can't remember what happens in that sequence where they end up with the tank protecting the Puppet Master. What happened there again? I forget now. How did they get there?
So they had the conversation with the Puppet Master inside this, I guess, prison police facility.
Yeah.
And then someone stole her body, drove away, and they tracked the car because the guy who's like mostly human shot a tracking device into the back of the car, and they're tracking it and they're chasing it through the city. And they located it in this building, and for some reason they have a tank in there. They shoot out through the roof, and Motoko is like trying to fight this tank, but she can't really fight a tank because she's not a tank herself.
Yeah. Well, she is a tank, just in a different kind of way.
She's a tank, but she's not really a kind of tank. Yeah. And that's how we got to the point where, so like the Puppet Master.
Because I remember that the Puppet Master reveals that he's sentient to them, and he says that line. I've got it here. I am a living entity created in the sea of information, which I love. I love this line.
It was nice. But again, though, it was a lot of like info dumping again.
Yeah, I would say around this part of the movie, there's a lot of exploratory dialogue yet again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've written here: Puppet Master escapes, even though he's got no arms or legs.
Well, I think we can assume that he got someone to break him out because. So when we get to the tank, there's someone in the tank who then gets killed. I assume that's the same guy who broke into the police place, stole the body, and drove away.
It's Section 9, isn't it?
I assume
because Section 9 has been using the Puppet Master to what? Show up Section 6, and then they can't be caught having anything to do with Puppet Master, so they're trying to decommission it or some shit.
Something like that.
It's not well explained at all. I think the storytelling is good story, bad storytelling in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think probably on the 5th time I would have watched this film, maybe I would have got what you just said.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though?
Yeah.
I have to ask, do you not feel that having telepathic powers... Well, I know they explain it, like, in the sci-fi rules of the world, but I've always really equated telepathy to like magic or superpowers rather than sci-fi.
No, I don't see that as a big a problem. I can see how you can connect that with like sci-fi.
It's not really a problem. It just sort of because there's a lot of scenes where I've complained that there's a lot of scenes where they explain a lot of shit and all they do is move the mouth and everything else is really static. But they also do that with the telepathic dialogue as well. So it's just...
not even moving of the mouth.
Yeah, it's just dialogue. It's just one picture with dialogue going on. Maybe someone blinks and that's it.
Yeah. I have a question though.
All right, go on.
So you remember at one point the boss... the bald guy.
Yes.
He's with some SWAT guys and they're outside a house and like they're hiding in the trees and his helicopter lands and he's filming this guy who's got like kind of like white long hair. Do you remember this bit?
Yeah.
What was up with that? Because I think you kind of led to believe that he could be the Puppet Master, but then we never see this guy again.
Can't remember. Could that not be the Puppet Master woman in disguise or something?
No, No, it was definitely a
You can
guy,
see their
an older
face,
guy.
right?
Yeah, it's definitely not a woman.
Oh,
And it was very strange.
maybe that was someone from Section 9.
Maybe, but it doesn't really explain who that was, and you never see them again. And you're like, is that significant? Is he the bad guy?
This
And
is the
then that's
problem
it.
with the movie. They sort of half explain things. They sort of half,
Or they explain too much.
or they over explain, yeah. And to be fair, the little bits and pieces I've looked at online, apparently the manga is very uh, detailed in its sort of, really, really obsessive detailing, very exploratory, where it's almost painful to read, and like loads of techno jargon and stuff. But I've not
Mm.
read it, and I'm not going to. I don't think. I don't think so. So we have this fight with the tank. Really cool fight where uh, Makoto. What's her name again?
Makoto,
Yeah,
yeah. Or
Makoto.
just call her Major if you want,
Major, yeah.
if it's easier.
So Major has this really badass fight with the tank. The tank is like every like brick pillar that she hides behind. The tank just fucking obliterates it, like it evaporates in a storm of bullets. It's nuts how she hasn't been hit. And then she does this thing, we mentioned it earlier, where she tries to pull off the top of the tank, and her muscles, they clench so hard that like her body just fucking explodes.
Hmm.
And then,
Basically.
but she's trying to protect the puppet master shell, right? The tank's trying to kill the shell, or is it the other way around? Tank
Uh,
protecting the shell
mm,
from her. I forget now.
I guess from her because the puppet master's body is in like a bag inside the back seat of the car.
Yes. Oh, it's Section 9, isn't it? Section 9 are controlling the tank, but Puppet Master has its own agenda. That's right. So Section 9 are
I was
trying to
under
keep her
the
away from the
ah oh yeah, and then there was two sets of helicopters, wasn't there?
yeah.
Coming by. Ah, okay. See, I didn't even get that. I thought the puppet master was controlling everything.
No, no.
That's what I got.
Section 9 is controlling a lot because they don't want to get caught for having anything to do with the Puppet Master.
Aha, that's why there's two teams, and they're kind of
Yes.
okay. That makes sense.
And then,
See, again with the the not great storytelling here,
yeah, this is it.
that you can easily get confused that with that.
It's very easy to get confused in this movie. Certainly your first time watching it. So then she's fighting the tank. It runs out of ammo. So she goes and does the muscle bulge thing. And Mickey Rourke saves her. So the tank overpowers. So I'm literally reading my notes. So the tank overpowers her, and then is like holding her. She's naked. Why is she naked? Oh yeah, because her body's exploded. So she's part naked. She's part naked. Because this all makes sense in the context of the film, guys. If you haven't watched it, so she's got no arms. She's got no legs. The tank's got her by the face, and it's about to kill her. And then Mickey Rourke rocks up, Badu, and he blasts the tank, saves her, and then they try and I forget now. I forget now exactly the specifics, but she's all fucked up, and then she's like, "Have you got all the equipment?" He's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Then let me dive straight away," because there's this concept of if you're one of these things with a ghost, or anyone who has a ghost, which is everyone apparently, you can essentially put your ghost into a machine and hack it, essentially. And that's what she wants to do with Puppet Master. They connect to each other, Inception style, I guess. So she does that, even though she's all fucked up. And then this is when the Puppet Master reveals the final act of his plan, that he's actually orchestrated the situation to lead to them connecting to each other and merging. And he's actually in control of this situation now because Mickey Rourke's hand gets possessed, doesn't it? So the puppet master is able to stop Mickey Rourke from interfering. And so there's this big thing of, are they going to merge together? What? Because he gives her the choice. He's like, will we merge? We will become something more. Our offspring will be the sort of the next step in evolution. There's a lot of this, like, ideas about evolution, but then like what it means to be human, and reproduction is a huge component of what it means to be human. And there's this element of maybe this merging there's a sexual component, perhaps, that you could argue, and it is about reproduction and creating new life, because they wouldn't be exactly how they were. It wouldn't be the puppet master, it wouldn't be Motoko, but something completely new, a mix of the two. Kind of like Ultron and Vision. Ultron and Jarvis making Vision in the Avengers movies. I can see a lot of movies drawing from this. I saw a lot of the Avengers, elements of the Avengers and other stuff in this.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen them.
But when
Yeah,
when she asks him, so why do you want to merge with me? Why did you pick me? This is where Puppet Master says, I've always seen you as like a mirror image of me. You are me, just in another form. So we get this theme of the mirror pop up, and then when the two helicopters rock up, just as they merge, they get shot in the head, and Mickey Rourke has to save Motoko. But then when she wakes up, and I really, really like the ending here, Craig. I also like the idea of this AI wanting to merge with her. I really liked all the story beats I really liked. I just thought the execution could have been improved. So she wakes up and she's in a new body. She has a child's body. She's only a kid now. There is an element of rebirth here, that she is a new consciousness, a new being, a new entity that is neither Motoko or Puppet Master, but a blend of the two. So I think it's quite interesting that it's a child's body that she's put into. But obviously Mickey Rourke plays it off. Mickey Rourke plays it off as like, it's the only thing I could get on the market. And then when she wakes up in the child's body, when she opens her eyes, she's sat in front of a mirror. So it's like, it just comes, all these themes just have come full circle. And I've written here,
yeah.
cool ending, ... but ... meh.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It felt a bit anticlimactic, and you don't know really. Like, did they merge? Did they manage to complete it before their bodies were destroyed?
Yeah, yeah.
What
Yeah,
do you
they do,
think?
they do. They do, no, they specify it. They definitely say it. Baku
Uh,
asks her, and she goes, "I'm neither. I'm not either of them. I'm both and more." Something like that. She is basically the offspring of them both, and they basically died. What they were
uh-huh.
died before the merge, and the merge has created essentially a new being that is both of them and neither of them, essentially.
But is this something that we should be afraid of? Should it be bad? This because like does the puppet master
Well,
have morals and stuff like this? I guess not so much. Like they
well,
don't
I mean,
mat like human morals. Do they matter still to this being?
right, but the puppet master's sole motivation was to exist, and now he has what he wants. He can exist and live a functional life. So he is fulfilled essentially, and we know that Baku definitely trusts this new consciousness, because he basically gives her a car that she can go on her journey now and discover who this new person really is.
Yeah. Let's summarize our thoughts
All
then,
right.
because
Yeah, yeah.
now,
Let's give it a rating. So I'll tell you this, Craig. Can I give this two different ratings? I'm going to give
of course,
the rating that my initial rating when I first watched it, but then my actual rating upon my second watching. after watching the live action
Go on.
remake. So my first, and I've got it written down, my first rating, I only gave it a 6, and it was closer to a 5
Mm,
than a 7. I really wasn't a fan. Despite enjoying the ideas, I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. It was dark, and like I said, I was expecting something more vibrant, more live, more high octane. So I was disappointed. After watching it the
yeah,
second time, I'm actually going to put it at a 7.5. I think it is very good.
yeah.
But I think you need to watch it more than once. So people out there, if you are even a little bit interested in watching this movie, but you're not an anime fan, be prepared. I think you're going to need more than one watch.
I would also suggest as well, although it's dubbed, like the version I watched was dubbed, I think I should have watched it with
Me
subtitles
too. Yeah.
because I think I would have understood more of what's going on because at
Yeah.
least you could just read it. So maybe a subbed version is better for this.
No,
But definitely you need to watch at least more than once for sure.
I also watched the dub version, and
You
perhaps
technically watched it 3 times.
well, because I'll tell you this, Craig. I do think because I wasn't a huge fan of many of the characters either. Didn't care a huge amount about them, and I think that did have a lot to do with the vocal performance. And of course, I'm watching the dubbed version, so it's hard. It's hard. There's a reason why I didn't bring it up because you shouldn't really critique it on that because there is another dub out there that is probably going to be more appropriate for the tone of the film. But I did think a lot of the dubbed performances were, like I said, made it harder to like these characters.
Yeah,
I like.
I get that. I understand that.
I think I like Baku the best, but he still had his boring moments.
Yeah. From me, I'm not sure what I could really what I would rate it on because I only watched it the one time last night. So and I know the IMDb. By the way, someone recently mentioned how I always say that wrong. I always say IMBD instead of DB. Yeah, don't know why. So I know what the rating is already. I just looked at it because I opened it a second ago. Uh, I would also put it somewhere around a seven something. I always like to try and measure it by its influence as well. And
Yes,
it's so clearly very, very influential.
yes.
Like I even see that James Cameron loved this film, and apparently it influenced Avatar as well, which is also not surprising.
I see Avatar.
Um,
I see Matrix. I see shades of so much in this movie, and I see it drawing from so much that came before as well. Like, yeah, it's quite special. It's quite special in a lot of
yeah,
ways.
it's an evolution of a discussion,
Mm.
as we kind of said a second ago. So I don't know. I guess probably I would give it. Oof. See, like the plot dumping really does get to me at times, and it's
Yeah,
hard to follow. So this does impact my rating. I'm going to give it about a 7, I think.
I think that's fair.
Maybe, yeah. But you want to know what the real rating is?
Yeah,
It's 7.9 on IMDb.
7.9. See, this is the thing. I still think, based on my first watch, 7.5 is still very, very generous. But my second watch, I
Mm.
really appreciated it a lot more. A lot less went over my head. I noticed a lot more, and I really, really liked it the second time round. So I think
I
that's
can see,
why I'll give it that 7, 7.5.
yeah, I can see that. I clicked on the user ratings. It's like 30% of people gave it an 8 out of
I,
10. So,
I don't know. I don't know because I don't use Rotten Tomatoes very much, or if at all. But I heard it's the highest rated anime on Rotten Tomatoes. This movie.
ooh, let me see. Let me see. Rotten Tomatoes. I better use these guys because I find them. I don't like how their system works, to be honest. But let's have a look. So I got it. I got it now. It is 95% fresh, rated fresh, and the
90.
audience score is 89%, which I'm not sure how I agree with that because I think a lot of people um, like had a similar experience to how you explained it, like expecting more action, more stuff like this, and also the way that it dumps info. I'm surprised that the audience score is that high because I think a lot of
Mm.
people, it's a bit of a hard watch. It's not so it's not so easy. It's not so accessible for every audience member. A lot of people will be turned off by how it is. Like if you didn't tell anybody anything about it, they might not be so patient with it and might think it's crap. So I'm a bit surprised by that very high
Well,
score.
this is the thing. I mean, if this was if I wasn't watching it for the podcast, I would have watched it the one time, and I probably would have just kept it at like 5.5 out of 10, and never bothered watching it again. But because we had the podcast coming up, I thought it would be interesting to watch the live action one and maybe compare. And after watching the live action one, and I enjoyed it a lot more in terms of like it's far more exciting. The set pieces are more fun. There's a lot more action involved. And the story is far easier to follow, albeit it is simplified. And it was the things that were missing from the story. It gave me all the action that I wanted, but what it removed from the story, I ended up realizing is more important. And when I went back
Mm.
to watch the original, that's when that's when I wrote most of my notes. That's when I started to really appreciate the anime more, and I really thought a lot more about what I was watching. So again, if it weren't for the podcast, my experience of this movie would have been very different. I think the podcast has saved this movie for me. Seriously,
That's interesting.
I think because I wanted to try and get it, like I had to give myself the patience to watch it 3 fucking times. You know, you you don't. Most people aren't going to do that. I wouldn't normally do that if it weren't a podcast that we were doing.
Yeah.
So
All right.
yeah,
That's a good
movie
point for the
saved
end, by the
by
way.
film trap. Yeah, watch it 3 times for a podcast, and then you can enjoy it, guys.
Yeah. You become an expert at
And I
that point.
and you know what? I will say, as much as I don't think it's as good, I actually didn't hate the live action remake. And I know that might be surprising because a lot of people really hated the live action remake. I really didn't hate it, especially when you compare it side by side. I think the changes they make actually make sense for a Western market. I think it's more succinct storytelling. It's 20 minutes longer, and it still simplifies its story. So that I do think that's a testament to just how much the anime is cramming into its runtime.
That's an interesting point. I think I
Mm.
should also watch it at some point as well.
I'd recommend it. I'd
What
recommend it. I think it's interesting to watch the anime and the live action side by side, like I did as a case study. What was your rating again? 7, right?
about 7, yeah. But maybe if I watched it again, I might put it up to 7.5 or something like you did. I don't know.
How
But yeah,
many binary uh, zeros and ones are you going to give it out of infinite zeros and ones?
out of infinite,
Yeah, well,
uh, it's at least a good trillion, is it not?
a trillion zeros and
What's
ones,
what's beyond the trillion?
a
Begins
quadrillion,
with P, doesn't it?
isn't it quadrillion?
Is it quadrillion?
I don't know.
I think there's like a petrabillion or something as
That'd
well.
be 5, wouldn't it? Pent is 5. A
Maybe. I don't know.
pentillion would be after quadrillion. I don't know.
Could could be. Quadrillion, is that a 6?
That'd be
I don't
4.
know. Is it? Oh yeah, you're right. It would be a 4, yeah.
Speak English, Doc. I ain't a scientist. All right.
What's our plan for next?
I'm not sure yet, guys. Next week, next episode, we're definitely doing anime for the rest of January. Anime January, or Janime, as we're going to call it. I've got a friend who's big into anime and big into the podcast, and they would love to hear us talk about Studio Gimli. So I think that's definitely coming probably in the next episode.
You said Studio Gimli.
I did say, yeah, I did. So we're doing Lord of the Rings next week, guys. So yeah, we'll definitely do some of that. We'll definitely find some obscure anime to do as well. I found one that looked interesting. I'm going to send it to you, Craig, before we announce anything. See what you think before we commit. But I think, did we confirm anything that we want to do next week, Craig? I don't think so.
No, we'll talk and we'll discuss.
All right. Well, guys, what you can do is you can keep following us on the app formerly known as Twitter, @FilmShrapnel, capital F, capital S, and you can keep up to date with what's coming and, you know, what we're currently recording all the time. We're updating that. So give us a follow on there and you'll be able to keep track. So sorry that we can't let you know what's coming next week, but check Twitter. It's probably there waiting for you now, this month's schedule. We're also on YouTube. We're coming to YouTube. Our first upload is coming soon. We're on Instagram. Are we on anything else, Craig?
I think that's it. YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram for the minute.
All right, well, go follow us on all those platforms, guys. We are Film Shrapnel. Craig, do you have anything to say to the lovely listeners?
I think you said it all, really. Keep following us and stay tuned for more.
All right, guys. And until next time, keep watching those movies and enjoy. Please watch Ghost in the Shell. It definitely deserves some love. I did like it.
It does, yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Shrapnel.